Well,
Welcome back to the show, nephews. We're back again for another week of the Hill Kings podcast.
yes.
Crisp, we've
Mm-hmm.
got a guest in
Hi.
our midst today. That
Yes.
is why we are wearing suits once
Mm-hmm.
again.
Dressed up for the guests. Uh, yes, we have a guest, nephews. I would love to introduce you to Instagram meme exchanging friend of the show, Nelson from the What's Left of the South podcast. Nelson, thank you so much for being here with us.
No problem. That soundboard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get used to it,
Oh
bud.
my God, that's perfect. That's
It's going all
beautiful.
episode. So yeah, Nelson, you are one of the co-hosts of What's Left of the South, which is a review anthology podcast of a working class history from a leftist
Yep.
perspective. Am I correct?
Yes, so we
Um,
do yes, we do Southern working class history and sometimes current events from a leftist perspective. Really it's just to try to show that the South is not a monolith of reactionary garbage, and there's actually good people down here. So we
yeah,
interview like historians, and we interview organizations, anyone just doing good and wanting to spread like that message that we want on the podcast.
Now,
So yeah,
Chris did tell you that we are heavily conservative, right?
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Me too. It's all look at me. I'm
Yeah.
bald. I'm a bald white dude with a beard. I mean, this is all a lie. Yeah, exactly. Make America great again, right there, buddy.
Hell
Trump's
yeah,
gonna
brother.
Trump's gonna come in on those libs, and they're not gonna be able.
you saw his
They're not
Bucky.
gonna.
You saw his Bucky's cup.
Hey,
You
Bussies
saw his.
does not cross party lines,
You saw
brother.
his Boosie
They
cup.
are firmly
How
in the
dare
middle,
you?
my friend.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That is
Bucky's
for
his life.
all,
Bucky's his love.
yes,
Yeah.
all walks of life, all colors, all shapes, all
The
types.
the subjects are varied over on What's Left of the South, which I enjoy because it's not always history. Sometimes it's current event. Like I listened to the queer satanic episodes about the
Yeah,
Oh
Satanic
yeah,
I
Temple
yeah.
listened to that
recently,
one
and those
Yeah.
are
the
really
other day.
good. Um,
Oh yeah.
and it's a lot of history stuff, super cool. But real quick, what are the handles we can find you at?
So we did do a
More
name
importantly,
change.
where are the memes at? Because you guys
I
got
got
some
you. I got
memes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did a name change a while back, so it's all going to be at what's left of the so WLOTS pod. Yeah, that's it.
It'll
So
be
yeah,
in
just
the
what
description,
yeah, there you go.
listeners, nephews. You
See,
can link it
exactly.
down there.
Mhm.
Podcasters know, just put the link in the description. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you can Instagram, TikTok. The X has been Twitter has been put on
Yeah, get it
lockdown
right.
because
Call it
yeah,
X. Get it
yeah.
right.
I'm
Elon
not on it.
Musk's shit show of a social networking site has been had to be locked down because
Oh.
I disagreed with MAGA communists, and
Oh no.
they started
Aw, man.
they started jumping on stuff, and I was
Oh
like, you know
no.
what, I'm just
Dude.
gonna have to block and lock for a
They're
bit.
usually so nice.
They're so nice. They were just making great assumptions about me and how I look, and everything
Nice.
was beautiful.
What you do in basements of pizza shops.
How did
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, I was one of them.
Who
Yeah.
do you think was brigading you on X?
I was actually leading the charge,
It
man.
was us.
Damn it! I should have known
Yeah.
it. Should have known.
We
Well,
brought you here to
it's
have a debate. Surprise.
yes,
Oh
yeah. I did
no!
I was
I agree.
watching I was listening to your episode all about Vosh before this.
Oh, Voosh, yeah. Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah, I also fucking hate that guy, so I was excited.
God, he's garbage. He's such garbage. He's so I'm glad he
Yeah.
like had a massive fall from grace because
Yeah, because he like fucked horses.
yeah something.
He was like into horses and porn. I'm gonna
Oh,
believe
yeah,
that.
he
but
did.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he did
a
put that up. Yeah, we're gonna
he's
get
a fucking
demonetized
freak.
right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm gonna. That's what the Trump one. That's what the Trump soundtrack.
There it is.
Yeah, you got it. He's
Uh,
with us, Chris. He knows what's going on
Yes.
already. We
Well,
appreciate you being on the show, bud.
yeah. Let's go
Well,
ahead
thanks
and
for
get
having me.
into it. Nelson, you guys share a lot of memes on your Instagram channel, which I really love, and you do feature King of the Hill quite a lot. I want to know like where King of the Hill started at for you, because this episode is airing on February 22nd of 1998. So place us where in time is Nelson, and then where in time do you kind of come into contact with King of the Hill?
So in 1998, I'm 8 years old, and um, it's the 90s, so everyone's positive. 9/11
Mhm.
hasn't happened yet.
HIV positive.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
But
That was the 80s.
yeah. So I remember watching King of the Hill, like it was the on Fox, right? So like on channel 2 where I am. So it was
Yeah.
always like Futurama, Family Guy, King of the Hill, or what King of the Hill would be first, whatever. And then so I remember just watching it. I don't know if I ever watched like the first like run of it, or I probably
Yeah.
did later.
Yeah.
But I do remember watching it as a kid growing up and thinking it's absolutely hilarious. And then going back and watching it again, like on Hulu as an adult, just binging. I remember I binge watched the entire thing
Yeah.
during COVID, so I like watched the entire series, and just remembering like how just absolutely hilarious it is, and how like it how who's the what's his name again? Who's the guy that
Mike
who's the,
Judge.
Mike
Mike
Judge,
Judge?
Greg
Yeah,
Daniels.
yeah.
Yep.
So there's like how Mike Judge could like take stuff, just could take. You would think it's gonna go one way, especially with politics on King of the Hill, but
Yeah.
it goes
Mhm.
like the complete other, like the episode where he shakes George Bush's hand and
Yeah, and he
it's
has a
weak and
limp
he's like,
handshake. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
no.
It's very for such like political seeming content, it's a very apolitical show.
Yeah.
I said on Twitter one time, it was like millennials love
X.
King of the
Sorry.
You're gonna bleep that.
millennials love King of the Hill because it's what I say is because it's what we wish our boomer dads were, instead of like the
Yeah.
horrible lead poisoned assholes that they are.
Yeah.
Brain
Yeah.
rotted.
We
Yeah.
all wish that like Hank. We all wish that like somebody, and like an adult figure in our life could have been like, hey, this
Yeah.
is what it means to, this is right and wrong and
Yeah.
whatever, etc.
We wish we all knew a propane
Oh no,
salesman.
I remember what it was. I remember it was is we all wanted our dads like Hank, but we ended up getting Cotton instead.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Yes. Because you were raised in the deep south, correct? You're from
Oh
Alabama?
yeah, I'm from born and raised.
Miami.
Yeah,
Nice.
Miami. Yeah.
Brad
Roll
is from the
Tide.
he's from the
Roll Tide.
Alabama of the North.
Yeah, I'm from Eastern Canada.
Oh Lord. So
Yeah.
so what, like was Alberta? I heard Alberta over
Nah,
Texas.
Alberta's central Canada. Eastern Canada is the real boonies. That's
Oh
the
Lord.
Maritimes. New Brunswick is where I'm from.
Oh, the Newfies. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Swampland,
Mm.
swamp walkers. Newfoundland, actually, they do not consider themselves maritime,
Mm.
Okay.
but
I
they are.
watched
They are.
I watched Shoresy.
Shoresy, bud. New
Letterkenny.
season
Yeah,
this
bud.
week there, bud.
Hell yeah,
Fucking
bud.
go for it. Hell yeah.
Fucking-
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Fucking send it, bud. I love that show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and jump in the Wayback Machine and take a look at a little bit of This Week in Arlen. Take
My
us back
time to shine,
1998,
baby. Here we go. All right, everybody knows it at this point. This, of course, is the segment of the show where we look at what was going on in the world at the time of this episode's airing. Chris already mentioned that this one aired on February 22nd, 1998, and we always like to kick it off with a peek at the TV guide. So as y'all can see here, we've got a full slate of television, anything standing out in yonder eyeball.
Up top, ABC is playing Casper out of season. It's
Is
a
that the
little,
one
like,
with Hillary Duff?
I don't know if she's in Casper 2 or Casper 1, but Hillary
I think
Duff
she's
is in one of the
Casper 2.
Casper.
Yeah.
Oh,
Little late.
X-Files.
Yeah, that was the King of the Hill was the lead-in to the X-Files at this point.
Wow.
I believe in the following year they moved the X-Files to another night. I believe it moves to like Thursday or Wednesday night as they
Okay.
add more animation, and the kind of animation domination thing starts to come to be. I think Futurama was kind of a driver for that as well.
Yeah, that first iteration of Futurama was perfect. Everything
Yeah.
after that is garbage.
Yes.
And that's really when The Simpsons, it's a running thing on the show. I am constantly trying to turn it into a Simpsons podcast, and we will talk about this episode, Last Temptation
Yeah.
of Crust, in a moment. But Matt Groening pretty much left The Simpsons to work on Futurama.
Yeah.
And brought a lot of the showrunners with him, which is when The Simpsons really started to go downhill.
Ah.
Yeah. Truckers has got A Tale of Two Truckers on. I don't
We
know
still haven't
how.
figured out what that is.
We
but-
still haven't figured out how
Yeah.
Brad got this channel into the feed, and we've also got HGTV on our listing now, which we
Yeah, I
haven't had
don't
in the past.
control TV Tango. It kind of
Mhm.
has a mind of its own. So whatever's
Obviously.
on there is on there, you know?
So X-Files holds a special place because my dad, I tell people my dad is a mixture of Bill with the conspiracies of Dale. So like he loved X-Files. And like he thought that like 8-year-old me should watch X-Files. My
That's
mom was
very
like,
important.
swear to God, my mom was like, there's no way in hell you're letting him watch X-Files. So I didn't get to watch the first like X-Files when it was out until I got older and binge watched it on Netflix. I was like, God, this show's awesome. And I could totally see why an 8-year-old child should not watch X-Files.
Yeah, it always
I have
scared
nightmares for
me.
years.
Yeah, I would turn off King of the Hill. Or I would turn off X-Files the second King of the Hill was over because the
Yeah.
intro
Scary.
just kind of spooked me, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see other good stuff. Crimson Tide is on NBC later.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not entirely sure what Crimson Tide is.
So Crimson Tide is actually a movie about a submarine.
yes.
All right.
It's a thriller / drama with James Gandolfini's in it.
And it's
Mhm.
not
So
Hunt
is,
for Red October. That's
R.I.P..
different.
No, it's not,
No.
R.I.P. to the GOAT. We lost him. It was like 13 years the other day.
Yep.
But who else? Denzel Washington, James Gandolfini, and I forgot who's the main antagonist. It's what's his face from like he's a famous actor. I can't remember what his
I don't
name is.
know. I've got IMDb up, so I can click on it. You're a huge Gandolfini head, correct? You're
Oh, yeah.
Sopranos memes are big
Sopranos
on the feed.
Sopranos
yeah.
is the best. It's the best TV show of all time.
Outing myself
Besides
a little.
King of the Hill, brother.
Yeah,
Exactly. King of the
Watch your
King of the
tone on this
Hill.
pod.
I've never seen an episode of The Sopranos.
Get the fuck out of
Gene,
here.
I know.
Gene Hackman.
I know.
Mm.
Gene
said
Hackman and
Hackman.
Crimson Tide.
But I plan on watching it soon.
They go to Canada. There's an episode where
Well then I'm in.
Bobby has, there you go. Yeah.
I'm
But I
fucking
think they
in,
go to
bud.
they go to French Canada. So they go to
Oh, that's
Quebec.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Last thing before moving past the TV guide. All right, already on the WB
Yes.
again
We
with
love
the
to talk about
gynecologist.
the
Bottom right.
mysterious sitcom that we cannot find any episodes of online. All right, already. They have kind of a Friends style naming
Mhm.
scheme for each of their episodes.
They're
And
always
this one
brash
is-
with it.
Yeah,
90s
again with
brash.
the gynecologist.
Again with the
Yeah.
Again.
Oi.
Let's see. It's been a
Oh,
hockey player.
man.
It's been an astronaut. It's been a
Yeah.
gynecologist. What is going on?
Yeah.
We
We'll
haven't
never
figured it
know.
out.
We'll
Yeah.
never know. Keeping in theme, if you guys want to kick over to the next slide here, we will talk about The Simpsons for a second. Last week, we had a decent episode of The Simpsons in Das Bus, the one that was based on Lord of the Flies. We're back to mid in this one. We had Jay Leno as a guest star.
Wow.
And we had basically the whole premise of this episode is like Krusty tries to get back into the comedy scene, and then everyone realizes that he is like an old hack and all of his
Mhm.
jokes are offensive. And he
Yeah.
like gets up on stage, and as you can see from this photo, does a very offensive Asian accent. No one finds it funny. And then
Wow.
Jay Leno comes in to help him out.
Oh no.
So it's immediately I'm
Ooh.
out as a Conan head, you know? So
That's interesting. Has some interesting tie-in for this episode.
Oh, does it? Oh, because of the offensive jokes and doing stand up? Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Interesting.
guest comedians. It's kind of a stand-up-esque episode.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll get
That
into it.
happens a lot too, where the
Mhm.
kind of themes of the episodes cross over.
So
Interesting.
here is technically Simpsons did it.
Yeah,
on King of the
but
Hill. They just got it just
King of the Hill was much better.
I agree.
Exactly.
Moving on from there, though, I don't know if you noticed in the top right of the TV guide, we had a movie called The Wedding. And I looked into this movie because I noticed on a quick search that Halle Berry was in it. And I was intrigued by that because
Okay.
who doesn't love a little Halle Berry in their lives?
Mhm. Young
you
Berry.
you can see the premise here. As her wedding approaches, a young black woman must choose between her poor white fiance and a successful black man.
Oof.
So a little bit of a problematic sounding premise. I did a little more
Interesting.
research on this.
Yeah.
It is an adaptation of a novel that was produced by Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
watched
All
the
right.
Yeah.
I watched the trailer, and it does seem kind of fucked up. But
Interesting.
Halle Berry, so
They're not gonna give my man a tie on the cover of this. Like they give the white guy a tie, but they gotta make
yeah. This
brother
dude is
No.
man's neck open.
obviously like 20 years older than Halle Berry too, like, and it seems like he's just like kind of coming in and like
Hmm.
macking on her and trying to steal her away, and the white guy's
Oh.
just like, I'm poor. Ugh."
I'm trying to recognize the two male character, like the two male actors. I don't even know who they are.
I don't think either of them have done a lot of stuff of note.
That was
Yeah.
the
I'll take
one
a
and done.
quick look. I'll take a quick look, but I don't think I'm not recognizing
Yeah,
any of them.
report back on that, Chris, and I'll keep
Yeah,
her
you guys
moving
move
here.
on. I'll see you
Speaking
in
of
the future.
Shorzy, this was actually
Hey.
the closing night of the Nagano Olympics.
Okay.
They were
Okay.
competing against King of the Hill on CBS, so you could have either been watching the closing ceremonies or King of the Hill. But earlier in the day, we had a gold medal match. Czechia, which was at the time the Czech Republic, previously Czechoslovakia, won over Russia. The U.S. and Canada did not medal in
Oof.
this
Oh.
hockey tournament.
Ugh.
And then if
I'm
you
giving
move
up the
on,
search, by the way.
yeah,
Can't
it was
even-
that hard.
It's too far in.
That hard to find. Nice, man. But also earlier in that day, the first gold medal match in the history of the women's hockey Olympics,
Hey.
USA won over Canada.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I guess
Let's go.
congrats to
Score one for
y'all.
freedom. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Got him.
Yeah.
If you were in Florida on this night, you were probably not watching King of the Hill, and there were probably power outages and evacuations because there was a tornado outbreak that did end up killing 44 people
Oh
in
my
Florida
gosh.
Yikes.
Wow.
on this night. Yeah. So a little bit
Wow.
of solemn news on this week in Arlen, but we'll brush
Mm.
right the fuck past it because
Oh.
earlier this week, South Park Season 1 Mecha Streisand aired. The
Classic
episode where
ad.
the guy from The Cure fights a giant
Yes.
mecha Barbara Streisand,
Yes.
Yep.
which is peak television. I believe this aired on
Oh my
Wednesday.
God. Oh, I remember that episode. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
I want to go back and
Classic.
watch it because I haven't seen it in a long time. I had a bunch of like South Park best of VHS tapes and I had one that had this episode on it, and I thought it was so funny, but very different from modern day South Park for sure.
Certainly.
Oh yeah.
Also, earlier this week, we had a based Chumbawamba moment.
Oh, okay.
The Brit Awards went on, and the lead singer of Chumbawamba poured a bucket of freezing water over the deputy prime minister's head at
Yeah.
the
Oh,
award show.
hell yeah.
Because he was playing tub thumping at his political rallies, and they were like, "Fuck that!" They poured a bucket of water on his ass.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So score one for Chumbawamba.
Love that.
This
the
was
British
peak.
love the British love throwing drinks on their politicians.
They do. That
in
happened like
public.
They really do.
recently.
That happened
Hey,
recently
yeah.
with some like iced coffee or
That
something.
was one of the
They
royals.
they threw a milkshake at Nigel Farage because he's a horrible person, and that's happened
Yeah.
to him multiple times. Which
And
is
it
hilarious.
did bring all the boys to the yard, right?
Nice.
It
To
did, it
Scotland
did.
Yard.
Exactly.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, thank you. Moving
Oh
on.
no,
It
I see a thumbnail. Oh no.
It was Steve Irwin's 36th birthday
Okay. Oh,
on this day.
I was hoping this
Okay.
was the day he died.
No. That was much later. That was in
Okay.
I want to say that was like 2007,
Yeah.
2004 maybe.
Okay.
Before
okay,
2010.
Yeah, no, he was still kicking. It was peak Crocodile Hunter. It was his
Oof.
36th on this day.
Oh,
So we still had him.
RIP.
We still had
Yes.
happiness in our hearts. Really, everything has gone downhill since Steve Irwin
Can you
died.
imagine what
It really
the world
has.
would be like if we still had him? Honestly.
Well,
It'd
his
be
son
perfect.
is doing good work, I will say.
yeah. But
True, true.
he could have shepherded us through Harambe, and I feel like then we wouldn't be in this whole situation that we're in because it
or it could have taken he could have taken like around COVID, let's just say like
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
turns into an anti-vaxxer. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh, no.
"Froggy, the vaccine gives you autism, then, mate. Yeah, no, don't take the vaccine. It's
out
big
here
government."
in nature. These
Out here in
beauties don't
nature.
take vaccines. Yeah.
Crocodiles
Even-
never had a fucking vaccine.
We don't
You
know,
either,
but
die,
yeah.
you either die the hero or live long enough to see
Yeah.
yourself become the villain. I say the same thing about I don't think he would have, but with
No.
a Dale Earnhardt, like I still love Dale Earnhardt, and like
Mhm.
it's one of those things where I don't think he just what his son has said, and like all this stuff. I don't think he would have been a Trump supporter, but you never
But there's
know.
always
You
the
never,
chance.
you never, as you get older and the lead poisoning rots your brain more in that generation. Like he
Yeah.
could have, like maybe. So it's kind of, you know
Mhm.
what? I hate that he died in the way he did, but maybe it's for the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last week, actually, on This Week in Arlen, we celebrated the anniversary of his first and only Daytona 500 win.
Yes.
Hell yeah,
It
Last
was
ep.
brother.
one week to the day
Yes.
prior to February 22nd, 1998, my friend.
Hell
R.I.P.
yeah.
Praise hail. Praise Dale.
To the goat.
Moving on from Steve Irwin, the first film that David Spade did after Chris Farley's tragic passing came
Ooh.
out, and it was not so well regarded. A movie
Ooh, that
called
is
Interesting.
Senseless with
bad.
him and Marlon Wayans. Basically, the premise is kind of limitless. Marlon Wayans tests a drug that like untaps all of his senses and his potential.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like
Mm.
comedy, like 90s comedy version of Limitless. I did
Oh,
not look into it any further because I saw
yeah.
the ratings and I was like, oh, that has to be horrible.
God,
But
that is
Wow.
horrible.
yeah, bad time in David Spade's life, you know, and
It was the late
America,
90s.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Chris Farley being gone, never recovered. Yeah. So again, bringing it down, but wrapping it up with another. It was a slow week for movies, guys. Titanic was still #1 at the box
Of
office.
course. Of
It
course.
was still crushing.
Okay,
Wedding
good, good,
Singer
good.
came out the week before and didn't even touch Titanic. But we got a movie this week called I Love You, Don't Touch Me, which is the story of a 25-year-old virgin girl looking for the right boyfriend, not realizing that the one has been right there for many years.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
What
Yeah.
Who
these
would have
90s
guessed?
these 90s plots are so
Yeah,
over the
right.
head on
Yeah.
everything. It's just
Yeah.
It's
Whew.
like, oh, a black woman must choose between white man and black man.
white guy
And
poor, she love him. Black guy
Well,
rich.
what we thinking in the 90s? It
yeah,
just
I
is
know.
just crazy. The end of history, it's just going wild.
Well, we're
Yep.
still seeing it today with the streaming service stuff. I don't think that doesn't seem the mentality is left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our brains are even more rotted,
Uh-huh.
just in different ways, I think. But that's gonna wrap it up for this segment.
Nice. Let's get into the show.
Chris, do you wanna bring us into
Start the
King of the
mower.
Hill mode, brother? Start up the mower, get us going.
Starting the mower. Let's get going. Yes, season 2, episode 16, Traffic Jam, airs on 2/22/1998. Your writers on this are Judge Daniels and Hardwick, and then your directors for this one are Wes Archer and Clay Hall, who directed 94 episodes of King of the Hill. We saw him a little bit in the first season, I think a little bit here in the second season, and then I think season 4 he really picks up. Clay Hall, you guys will recognize him for Planes. We've talked about him before, the Disney ripoff of Cars.
Yes.
You'll also recognize him from American Tail. Nelson, you know about American Tail and like Fievel Goes West and that whole
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
I do
Car-
not. I mean, maybe I might have watched it back in the day, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Little cartoon mouse, American immigrant story. Little Russian Jewish mouse family comes to
Okay.
America and they face American problems. It's very
Okay.
cute. But
As
Clay
long
Hall
as
was
as long
involved
as
in
it's
that.
not, as long as it's not the Irish.
Yes.
So it's fine. Yeah.
We hate
Wait,
the Irish.
If
Yeah.
the podcast, we have a long running bit about
Mhm.
being an anti-Irish American podcast.
I'm with
Yes.
you on that.
Well, you guys are pro Italian American.
Hey, obviously, yeah, the true othered whites, not
Yes.
the Irish can go back where they came from.
Othered
We actually had
whites.
we actually had like I had a whole bit on there about like how the Titanic was an IRA plot, and it was
Just to
That's
get
good.
rid of some Irish immigrants. I love
no.
that.
So basically, the whole thing was is like everyone knew the Irish couldn't build. This is horrible, but like everyone knew the Irish couldn't build boats because
Oh,
of the potato famine, and it was like, but really, they knew it was going to sink. There was no Irish actually on the Titanic, but
Oh,
just sacks
okay.
of potatoes. The
Yeah.
sacks of potatoes with third class written.
Oh no,
It
did we
just
lose
sunk
him?
him.
Rich. No, I'm back to. They sank the ship to kill off rich Brits. So there you go.
The Irish sent the iceberg.
I've never
Exactly.
heard that one, but I'm on board with it, and
It
I
was
do
an
believe it.
Titanic was an inside job.
Exactly. Then I had one about Alfred was a war criminal from Batman, but that's a whole nother bit.
Oh, I'd love to hear that sometime.
Yeah.
Um, well, let's go ahead and get into it. We open this episode hot open at the kitchen table, and Peggy just cannot stop grading because she's known for her 1 day turnaround. Is that realistic on as an instructor, Nelson? Is that realistic?
No, absolutely not.
Well,
It's
Peggy. What's your average grading time? Week,
yeah,
couple of weeks? No, no comment.
it's
No
like
comment.
it depends. It depends on
Yeah,
how bad that Vyvanse shortage is. But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Peggy is grading the what I did over summer vacation essays, and she's just blinding kind
Winter,
of
winter. We're
yes,
post
winter.
Christmas here.
My bad. You're right. You're right.
So I got a
Um,
question. I got a question about y'all's opinion about Peggy, real quick. Do you
Mhm.
believe do you believe the theory? Because I forgot if this episode was before or after the accident. Do y'all believe that
It's before.
Do you believe that Peggy's narcissism got worse after the skydiving accident?
I mean, probably the same way Luann's character gets tanked later on.
Yeah, I'm actually not super familiar with like I watched King of the Hill, but I wasn't like a diehard. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
like re-experiencing the show in
There's a
real
whole fan.
time.
Yeah. There's
But
a
I
whole
do
fan
remember
theory
the
that
accident.
yeah. There's a whole fan theory that she's a narcissist and it gets worse because she gets like frontal lobe damage from that parachuting accident. And she actually, if you watch like her post
Reasonable.
accident,
Reasonable.
she like gets worse and is like a worse person.
Huh. Well,
Interesting.
she's a pretty big dumbass at this point
Yeah.
in this show, I would say.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that happens right at the end of season 3, going into season 4.
Gotcha.
That's their cliffhanger between those two. But Peggy's handing out grades, and she gives the person who went to New York City a C, obviously. Hank is driving her to work, and as they're backing out, he and Con back into each other. So get ready, folks. It's another Con episode. The last episode we
Yes.
just did was very Con heavy,
Yep.
and we get some more Con in this episode. But Con immediately jumps out and he's like, "Oh, my neck is broken. I'll sue you for all you're worth." And he's like, "Oh man, I backed into redneck neighbor," and then just
Stupid redneck
immediately
hillbilly.
yeah. He's like, "I already have everything you have, but better." Just immediately rips into Hank.
Now, what does Hank mean? He says you always pull out on the right. What does that mean? Like,
So
what if you need to go the other direction?
Hank is clearly on the spectrum, and this is another fan theory that Hank has autism.
That one I do semi support.
I 100%
Yeah.
like
Oh,
believe that his
100%.
character has autism, but he's just just he's like that's the rule. Like I think
That's
doesn't
how
he
it is.
reference the Community
Later
guide,
on,
like
yeah.
yeah, he's like you're supposed to pull out this way, blah. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, on this side of the world, on this side of the planet, we back out on the right.
Yes.
Which
Con is
just a
like
little subtle xenophobia there from our boy
Exactly.
Hank.
Yeah. Con is like, you probably don't even have insurance. And Hank is like very insulted by that. And he's like, I'm a member of the Perfect Payment Club. And then Con hears that and kind of looks around and he's like, oh, my neck. Which I thought was very funny.
It's like, oh, fuck, he's insured.
Okay. All right. We'll take him for a ride. So our next scene is going to be in the insurance office, and we're meeting with our insurance agent.
Oh
so
my
does
God,
that mean that Peggy
perfect.
just didn't go to school? She called in a sub for being a sub?
No,
Maybe.
I like to think that she actually I actually think that she like ran there. She like somehow made it to the school and then and then they went to the insurance thing like later on.
Yeah.
She couldn't have missed school. She couldn't miss it. Like I don't
Yeah,
believe
Hank's
Peggy.
got his perfect payment. She's got her perfect
She has
one-day
to
turnaround paper.
Yeah, she has to turn those grades in. Our insurance agent here is actually going to be our first guest voice of the episode.
Ooh.
There's quite a lot of guests here. So the actress who is going to be playing Miss Kahaliki Aliki is Amy Hill. So
like
Oh,
the show, like the
wow.
name of the show.
King of the Amy Hill.
And
Wow.
doesn't Hank get her name like perfect?
He
He
does. Yeah, I
does.
did really like that.
He pretty much nails it to a T, which I
He's like,
definitely really liked.
but Miss Ka Alikiae.
Yeah. Kahaliki Aliki Ale. Yeah, he hits it. Amy Hill, she's a famous voice actress. She features in a lot of stuff. She'll be in for recurring characters on a lot of different shows. She's also a stand-up comedian, and at this point in time in the '90s, was, I think, working stand-up a lot more heavily. A lot of our guest spots in this episode are stand-ups,
Oh yeah.
and
That makes sense.
we'll talk about the big one when we meet him.
Oh, there's
Um,
more guest stars in this one?
there's a couple of other guest voices, yeah, that have
Hmm.
some credits to them and are
Didn't
also in
really
the stand-up
stand
world.
out. Yeah.
Stand up, stand out. But you'll know Amy Hill from she's like the principal on that. So Raven, she does a
Nice.
voice in Lilo and Stitch, I think, another like older lady. She reoccurs in American Dad. She's in 50 First Dates, and she actually is in 4 episodes of King of the Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's our
Prolific.
first very brief guest voice, but she's like asking Hank, "Did you use any mouthwash this morning? Did you eat a lot of sausage?"
Well, she
Just
starts
really,
with asking him if he drank.
Yeah.
Mhm. Uh,
What's the significance of the sausage? Can you get
I have
sausage wasted?
I have no idea. I remember her asking those questions and cracking up.
yeah,
Like, what the hell is she talking
It
about?
could have
I
been
think
like beer brats.
insurance is a scam, and they will take any
Yeah,
opportunity to
Exactly.
deny a claim. So
very true.
7 sausages before 7 a.m. is probably a loophole. Um, Hank kind of catches on that insurance is a scam because she's like, well, your rates are going to go up and like your truck will be out of commission. He's like, well, what if I just take out a loan, um, or whatever? So Hank kind of catches on and gets a little frustrated, but
Yeah. Why don't I just take out a loan and cut out the middleman? Boy. Yeah.
yeah,
It was like, oh,
um,
there you go, Hank. A great idea.
uh,
If
Hank
only.
does Hank does have a thing of only realizing things are rough whenever they happen to him. Uh,
Yeah.
um, his stance on unions has already changed a
Yeah,
couple times.
it
Um,
fluctuates. Yeah.
Oh
but
yeah, I forgot there's scabs. I forgot there's scabs in that episode at the firehouse. Yeah.
mhm. um, she does tell him that he can avoid the rate increase if he takes a defensive driving class. So she hands him a bunch of brochures. And then we cut over to the house where the family is exploring all the different kinds of defensive driving classes that he can take. Like
So many
there's
options.
a singles driver's class and a smokers driving class and a chocoholics driving class. Hank is
Vegetarian.
vegetarian. Hank has got the one for the defensive driving class. Um, and he says, this one sounds perfect. It's no frills, no anything. And this is where we see a glimpse of our guest star, our main guest star, Buddha Sack on the cover here. And it's spelled DEFENSIVE, Def as in Def Jam.
Yeah.
Which, if Hank watched Showtime at the Apollo like me, he would have understood. Or Def Jam comedy.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, Hank says, this one sounds good, and we immediately cut over to Snaps,
With a
which is
Z.
next to the driving school. Very interesting business format going on here in this strip mall.
How
But
like
we cut
everyone's parked crooked in the parking spaces. Y'all get that?
I
It's the
didn't
best.
catch that. That's really funny. I'll
I
put
didn't
up a
see that.
screenshot of that on the screen. That's great.
Um, Con is at the meeting. Hank just cannot escape Con. Con is like, was redneck driver school or hillbilly driver school full?
Fucking
Um,
burn, dude.
Got him. Hank is like, cut the comedy, Con. And then the lights dim, the mic goes up, and it's yo, 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 Buddha Sack in the house.
We've got a DJ in the back.
DJ Kid Mookie comes on, and this is our main guest star for the episode. Listeners, if you've watched this, you should have recognized the voice right off the top. It's Chris Rock.
Yeah.
For this episode is going to play.
My note as I was watching this the other night was, holy shit, this is Chris Rock. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was very
Yeah.
excited to hear it.
So listeners, if you're not familiar with Chris Rock, the maybe most recent thing you might know him for was getting slapped by Will Smith.
Keep
Oh
my
yeah.
wife's name out your
Out your
fucking
mouth.
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably been his biggest cultural popping off recently. But Chris Rock is a prolific prolific stand-up comedian, actor, writer, producer. He was on SNL from 90 to 93 with
Briefly, yeah.
Chris Farley. Yeah.
Yep.
David Spade,
Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Yeah.
Peak SNL.
Yeah. That is the best era of SNL.
Yes. So SNL's where he was getting a lot of his starts. He had let's see here. He's got 3 Grammys for comedy albums. He's got 4 primetime Emmys for multitude of projects, mostly stand-up projects. So he's very well awarded, very well credited, very, very funny individual, and was definitely very hot at this time.
Yeah, it's a big
Um,
guess for season 2. Like we
Yeah,
had Willie Nelson in
Yeah,
season 1.
definitely.
Is this our most famous guest since Willie Nelson?
I think this is our most famous guest since Willie Nelson, certainly.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
some pretty big names on the show, definitely down the road. I remember Randy Travis comes in later, so yeah.
Yes, very famous guest starring show. But Chris Rock got his start, maybe not necessarily where his start was at, but Chris Rock was featured very heavily on Def Jam, Showtime at the Apollo. Typically 90s black comedy. Did you guys watch Showtime at the Apollo and everything like that?
I was very, very, very much into stand-up in general as a kid.
Mhm.
We started like stealing satellite TV when I was pretty young.
Okay, there you go.
And
Canadians.
yeah, literally in our log cabin in the woods, we had like a pirated satellite TV, and we were stealing satellite
Hell
TV.
yeah.
And I watched nothing but stand-up. So I just like remember watching like Chris Rock's HBO specials, Dave Chappelle, free him being the worst and a transphobe.
Yeah.
But yeah, In Living Color, Marlon Wayans, Damon Wayans, the Wayans
Yep.
brothers in general, their TV show. Yeah.
Bernie
it
Mac.
was Bernie Mac. Oh my God. Yeah. Legend. How about you,
Um,
Nelson?
So yeah, I mean, I remember watching like Chris Rock's. I've watched his specials and I watched the movies that he's in, etc. And I always thought he was hilarious. Uh, you know, I guess I was like, I would watch like when it would come on Comedy Central late at night. They'd have stand up specials. I remember
Mhm.
watching like oh god, he's so cringe now. But when I was never a big fan, I just thought like some of his stuff was funny. When Dane Cook would like do
Oh yeah.
this thing, and
the
I was
early
just like,
stuff.
Super
Pickle joke.
finger, dude.
oh my god, yeah, I can't believe he sold
Oh,
out Madison
no.
Square Garden.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what the hell?
There was like a countrywide gas leak or something at that time. Like
That had
my
to be
God.
somehow he.
because I thought he was hilarious too. I watched it all the
That's
time.
when the microplastics were first starting to seep in.
Exactly.
That's our
exactly.
version of lead paint. That's
Yeah.
the millennial version of lead
100%.
paint.
That's right when the microplastics were entering our bloodstream
was the
for the
other
first time.
The Blue Collar Comedy Tour was big.
Yeah.
Oh
Ron
yeah,
White.
watched a bunch of that.
Yeah, I love John Panetti, but there's like and then I remember watching like Eddie Murphy's old stand-ups. But yeah, I wasn't like a big like stand-up comedy person, but like when it was on TV, I had to watch it. And it was funny. It's funny.
Yeah, Comedy
I
Central.
love Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show
Oh
was
my
the
God.
best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chappelle Show was the best thing ever.
Yeah, that was like one of my intros to comedy and like hip hop.
Yep.
That really is what like living in like rural northeastern Canada, like I wasn't getting a lot of exposure to like Tribe Called Quest and Mos Def and
Black
shit.
people
but,
in
like,
general.
Yeah. And then
Black
Y'all
culture in
had
general.
y'all had what was that Canadian dude that did that song Informer? Right?
Drake.
Oh,
Yeah, we're not
Snow.
talking about Drake. Yeah,
Snow, the white guy.
Drake-
Informer.
Drake's career is
Yeah.
Informer.
Yeah, fuck Drake.
Yeah, Drake's career is over.
I like you, boom, boom,
As a
down.
Canadian, y'all, fuck Drake.
Ooh, you heard it
Roll
here
Tide.
first, folks. But at the time in the 90s, the type of stand up that you would see in black entertainment spaces versus now at the time, and still mostly now, white dominant comedy spaces were different styles in general. Black comedy, black stand up. It's just different, inherently different. And that disparity is going to be kind of what's a little bit at play for the rest of the episode. So Chris Rock is going to play
Oh
Buddha
yeah.
Sack, very much
Bobby
at play for the
Bobby
rest
gets
of
Oh
the
it
yeah.
episode.
wrong.
I can't wait till we get into that part. I got
Yes.
Ooh,
I do
Bobby.
have one last shout out for Chris Rock's credits. Did you guys ever watch Osmosis Jones?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yes.
You just like
Great Chris
unlocked some
Rock role.
shit in my mind. I haven't thought about that movie in like 20 years. Bill
That,
Murray?
yes, that's a fantastic Chris Rock role.
Classic.
If you guys haven't seen Osmosis Jones, he plays a white blood cell cop. It's great.
I wonder if that holds
Um,
up. I wonder if that's
It
still
definitely
good.
does.
Have you watched it recently?
I would say in the last 5 years I've seen it.
Fuck yeah, dude. Love that.
Um,
Love that for you.
yeah. So
Wasn't
Chris Rock is
Chris Rock was the remember Eddie Murphy in the Nutty Professor, the
Mhm.
stand-up comedian that starts roasting another professor. Isn't that Chris Rock? Yeah, I think that is. I think it's
Rock.
Chris Rock. I remember Rock was in that
Nutty
movie, and he's
Professor.
like
Yeah.
the stand-up. He's a stand-up comedian just roasting about being fat, and then he like
Yeah.
gets back at him and just destroys his career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Buddha's gonna do a lot of roasting. So yeah, he gets pulled up on stage and kind of immediately cuts into his act here. You're right, he does have his DJ, Brad. He's got Kid Mookie with him. Kid Mookie is going to be played by Orlando Jones in this episode. Also a stand-up at the time, still a working actor. Orlando Jones here, he was on 43 episodes
Oh
of Mad
shit.
TV.
Yeah, I recognize this guy.
Did you guys watch Mad TV at all?
He was in
Oh, yeah.
Drumline.
He was in Drumline. He plays, I
love
think,
that
the
movie.
director in Drumline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. There's a
Um,
stretch where Mad TV was just destroyed Saturday Night Live. Like Mad TV was so
oh my
much.
God.
Yeah.
so much
Shout
better.
out
Mad
Bobby
TV.
Lee.
Bobby Lee, yeah, all those guys were like Jordan Peele, both of them, like they were like
Yeah, Key
Mhm.
and Peele got their start
Yeah.
on. Bobby Lee tried to kiss me once.
hell
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, he fell off the wagon at a Just for Laughs live Cancun that I was at, and he walked up to our table when we were eating dinner and ate some of my dessert. And then
An honor.
a couple days later, I bumped into him, and he remembered me from that, and then tried to make out with me.
Nice.
Yeah, nice guy, good kisser.
I was gonna say, was he a good kisser?
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Yeah, Orlando Jones, also pretty prolific actor, still working. I had a weird note here. There's a strange, you know how there's the all right already connection here. Have you guys ever seen or heard of a show called Father of the Pride from 2004?
Yes.
It's like a first gen CGI animated movie. It's about
about lions.
About lions. It's Siegfried and Roy's Lions.
And
is
John Goodman's in it.
Oh,
the
okay.
cast on this is insane. And
Cheryl
also,
Hines, her husband has brainworms.
yes. There's a lot of tie-in for King of the Hill with this weird 2-season show, Father of the Pride. So Clay Hall, who directs this episode, he was one of the like directors, producers of Father of the Pride.
Weird.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple other weird crossovers.
Carl
with it.
Reiner
Yep,
is in
Carl
this
Reiner.
show, and
And
he
he
gets
was,
it on this season of King of the Hill.
Mhm. Yep, he was in Unbearable Lightness of Unbearable Blindness of Laying. That's it. Yeah. So I don't know. Strange show. I looked at some clips and it also looks like early or late 90s CGI.
Love it.
Yeah. So that's Kid Mookie is Orlando Jones. Budasak is kind of on a roll, and Hank doesn't really get it. Khan is laughing, and
Con fucking loves it.
yeah, Khan loves it. He's like, "Shut up, Hank. Budasak is on a roll." But yeah, Hank just doesn't really get the jokes. Kind of tries to interject himself and immediately gets roasted down by Budasak pretty handily. And then we get just a cut back to home. And Bobby is extremely excited. He's like, "You met Budasak? I saw him at
Budasak.
You met Budasak?"
He says that he saw him 3 years ago on Breakfast at the Apollo, which is really
Yes.
funny. I'm
And
assuming that
Bobby's-
I looked that up. That's not a real show. There wasn't like a daytime version of Showtime at the Apollo. But funny joke that there would be like a
Mhm.
morning time like Def Jam comedy style TV show.
Yes, I like that. And this episode I think is definitely the show's attempt at like tipping their hat to acknowledging uh black comedy, the greats of black comedy at the time. But yeah, Bobby saw him on TV 3 years ago, which means Bobby has been watching black stand-up comedy and other stand-up comedy since he was like a 10-year-old. Because
Just
he's
like
like
me.
13.
Yeah.
Um,
Man after my own heart.
I have a personal theory for the reboot. You know how it's been very tight on leaks, but supposedly like Bobby is a chef or like Bobby works for a restaurant is the thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that's true, but I don't think there's any way Bobby gives up his dream of stand-up comedy. I think he works in a restaurant as his day job, and I
Yeah.
think he's like an open micer.
Yeah.
Or
type
he's
of guy.
percent.
he's like a Twitch streamer. That would be
Oh,
kind of
No,
funny.
Bobby's got a comedy podcast. Like Bobby's like
Yeah.
on like Come Town or
Yeah.
Being Eaten with Jordan or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the King of the Hill Stavros. He's just like on there just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And they'll have Stavros on as a guest star, calling
Oh
it
my
now.
god, that'd be great.
That would be good.
But yeah, Budasak is one of the reasons that Bobby wants to be a stand-up comedian. Hank kind of gets fed up with this and tells, says we need to have this discussion with you, Bobby. Stand-ups are not good people. And Peggy is like, I thought we were going to wait until he was older, until he was 15. But Hank's like, nope, it's time to crush his dreams. But yeah, he tells Bobby that, essentially stand-ups are like hollow and empty inside. And yeah, showbiz is evil. He's like, sure, they might get to be with pretty women and drive fast trucks. And Bobby's like, they drive fast trucks? Just
Like, I
making
don't
it
care
sound
about any of
better.
that other shit.
Yeah, just makes it sound better, more attractive to Bobby. Does the opposite of what he wants it to do. But Hank is like, I'm gonna take you with me to class next time so you can see how empty he is on the inside. And Bobby's like, I get to meet Budasak. What should I wear?
He's just stoked.
So then we immediately cut back over to Snaps. Back over at Snaps, and Budasak is kind of doing a white people driving bit.
Yeah, very
Did you guys?
hacky.
Yeah, it's very hacky. It's he's doing, white guys drive like this, black guys drive like this,
Which is a very famous Simpsons bit.
I was gonna say Simpsons did it.
Yeah.
I was curious about that bit as well, and I think Simpsons' portrayal of it is even just their version of what had become kind of a trope joke, hack joke format at the time in the 90s, kind of in black comedy, was doing a, compare and contrast of cultures type of thing.
I think it was a lot of like Chris Rock copycat, because Chris Rock did a lot of that in his stand-up too. Like, white people do this and black people do this.
Yeah,
and like Dave
Cat Williams.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle had a lot of that, but there were a lot of comedians who just like took that premise and made it very hack and lazy.
Yeah,
and I think that this guy is a very good portrayal of that.
Chris Rock's like voice being like just like one octave, like half an octave above, like below Gilbert Gottfried when he does it is perfect.
Yeah, he's hamming it up for sure. I've never thought of that. They do have kind of similar voices.
They really do that gravelly, like, why? Oh,
it's got a little bit of
I can't, but it's really gravelly.
It's like a tension in the tongue. Yeah,
a tip of the tongue.
Interesting. I had never thought about that before. Yeah, Buddha starts going on. Hank again just absolutely doesn't get it and
I
tells
love this
Bobby
shot
it's not funny.
Hank being like, what the fuck? And then it just cuts over to Bobby and he's like spitting out his drink, like stifling his laughter. Bobby's so into it. And everyone else in the room fucking loves it.
You got to believe this was probably Bobby's first live comedy experience.
Definitely.
At a traffic school.
At a traffic school at Snaps. Hank interjects again, and he immediately says something that really sets Budasak off. He said Hank accuses Budasak of his mother not raising him right, which is going to cause Budasak to jump into the yo mama jokes, which Hank just absolutely does not get. He's like, you've never even met my mother, and her weight is very appropriate for her age.
I love that the DJ's reaction, the second that Hank said it, like cut to the DJ and he was just like, "Oh no."
Record scratch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, I know what the fuck's coming now.
Moments
Mhm.
before disaster.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Budasak brought Bobby up on stage. That's
Yeah.
what kind of brings Hank into the scene. Yeah, Buddha brings Bobby up on stage, and
And
they're
he does
kind of
call him
riffing
Poppin'
together.
Fresh, and he does poke him in his round little tummy.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I forgot that's what set it off. But that's Hank getting laughed out of Snaps is essentially where our first commercial break is at.
Yeah, we get a really nice shot of Hank being so angry and humiliated that his face turns completely red.
Is
That
does Busak say something to Khan about Asian drivers? Like
I
at this
think that's
point,
a
Yes.
little later, maybe.
later. Okay.
No, I
It
think that
might have
was
been
in
in
the
this one. Yeah,
no, that was in the first one. I think it was either in the first or second one. But yeah,
yeah. And
Han
I
is
was like, hey, wait a minute.
he says like low blow, and then he's just like,
Hmm.
it like actually pisses him off. But
yeah.
when it's directed at Hank, he fucking loves it.
Exactly.
Um, it's a lot easier not being the target, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
We come back from commercial break and we're in the alley. And Hank is still kind of upset about getting backed into, and he's talking about the old neighbor Dave Henson lived there for 13 years and never backed into
Yeah.
me.
A
And then
little lore here.
Bill is like, well, he was a 500-pound shut-in.
And then they reference like the wall having to be
They
replaced. So
pan
he,
over to the wall.
Yes.
he had to be removed. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a
They-
very uniquely American thing, I think, that happens.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure like
Definitely.
watching this as a kid, this would have gone completely over my head.
Yeah, it's very
But-
nice little visual
Yeah,
gag
a
about their old neighbor.
few more years of Canadians and Tim Hortons. Y'all be there
Yeah.
soon enough.
Oh, give
once
us
they pri-
time, bud.
once y'all get a
Give us
privatized
time, bud.
healthcare, it'll happen.
Yeah,
Once they
fill
privatize
fill me with Timbits and a double, and I'll gain fucking 45 on you there, bud.
yeah, bud.
So while the guys are in the alley, Bobby is going to come up with his little toy microphone set, and he's kind of emulating Budasak. He's doing his yo, 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 Bobby Hill is in the
This
house.
was really cute. I have to say, this was kind of adorable for
It was
Bobby to do
adorable.
this, performing for his
Yes.
dad's friends.
He's coming out here and he's talking about white people having no butts. He's essentially kind of ripping off, or he's doing Budasak's joke kind of word
Yeah.
for word, but it is a very cute scene, and the guys are eating it up, which is going to be a theme for the rest of the episode, that the guys
literally-
think Bobby's funny.
Literally shit that I did in front of my parents' friends as a kid. I would
Yeah.
just, not this specifically, but I would just like do and
performance.
regurgitate stand-up bits to my parents' friends.
Just
So I
in-
relate to Bobby a lot in this episode, minus the like white nationalist shit, which we will get into later.
It's coming soon. Right here, he doesn't necessarily know any better. He's just doing, jokes he saw in a very, childlike way.
But I love how much the guys are like, Hank thinks that they're humoring him, but they genuinely seem to be stoked on it.
Yeah.
And like be supporting of my man Bob, which I appreciate.
they're talking about white guys walk like this, all rigid. Boomhauer mumbles on. He's like, it's funny because it's true. Yeah, the guys actually.
Dang all there. They're fun.
Not gonna mind
Hank he tells the guys, he's like, I appreciate you boosting his self-esteem, but what we need to be is demoralizing this, not hyping him up.
Which I also relate to.
So Bobby gets, how does he get there? Does he get a ride?
We just
something?
cut from here.
just cut to
this
it.
is actually my qualm alert, y'all. So we cut right over to Snaps, and Bobby is there.
Mhm.
But later on, he makes this big deal about like needing a
Getting
ride,
a
over
ride.
there. So like, how did
Mhm.
he get there this time?
Who knows?
That's the biggest hole in this episode. But
no one
maybe-
knows.
we can brush
Yeah.
past it.
Bobby's gonna meet with Budasak while Budasak is bussing tables and getting the club ready for the night. He's refilling ketchup bottles.
I love how he's marrying the ketchup bottles. That brought me back to working in restaurants. I was like, oh, I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel
so
you, Budak.
he's actually on the grind. Bobby is obviously very starstruck, but but Buddha's just working hard, and Bobby comes in. He's like, "Hey, I was at your show the other night. He says I saw you on Breakfast at the Apollo." And he's like, "Oh, you saw that, huh? Yeah, I don't do TV anymore because I got in trouble for some stuff I said on Moesha."
He got a little
That was it. Yeah,
risque on
got a little
Moesha.
risque on Moesha.
Another show. I used to watch that show all the time.
Oh man,
I never watched Moesha.
I was a big Moesha head.
it was big in Canada.
Yeah.
It was big in Brad's cabin from the pirated stream.
Exactly. Yeah. It came on right after Martin. I
Oh
remember
my
that.
God, yes.
Fucking love
Martin was
Martin.
great.
Yeah.
Martin was great.
But Bobby is gonna try out some jokes on Budasak here at their meeting, and he immediately starts doing black humor specifically to Budasak, and Buddha is like, "Yo, let me hold you there.
Whoa.
You can't do those jokes because you're not black. Like you can't talk about being pulled over by the police as a black man when you are not a black man."
Yeah.
So he's like, "You gotta, get in touch with your white roots, like find out what's funny about your past."
Which I think is the issue here. That he says, get in touch with your white
Your
roots,
white
not just
roots,
like
brother.
your
Yes.
own experience.
Well, those key words, white roots, are
Yeah.
going to pop up a little bit later.
Exactly.
But I think
brother.
that's like, from a writing standpoint, so smart and funny because like Bobby is very obviously completely innocent and just like thinks that this
Mhm.
is funny and is emulating it. And he hears white roots and he's like, okay, well, like I'll just take this same concept and apply it to being white.
Yeah.
So it's a really good setup for later on, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Budasak asks him if there's anything funny about him, and Bobby does say, "Well, my dad has a narrow urethra." And Buda's like, "That's hilarious." But
Is he gonna write it down for later? He's like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
write this
and
down.
he does bring it
Yes.
up. But Chris,
he does.
Deleted.
Deleted.
so on the show, Nelson, Chris watches on Hulu. I went ahead and I got the DVD of season 2, and I
What?
like to
It's-
watch the deleted scenes.
Oh, I was about to say, I was like, is it different on Hulu? Because I watch it on Hulu. So I was
No,
like,
no,
Oh, I watched deleted.
I
Brad's
will.
got the
I'll
deleted.
chime in with the deleted scenes whenever applicable here, and we do get a deleted scene from this scene of Bobby and Buddha talking.
Interesting.
As Bobby is walking away, Buddha stops him and says, "Oh, one more thing. K sounds are funny," and Bobby jokingly goes, "Okay." And this will come up later in later deleted scenes. This was a running bit that was cut out of the show.
Okay,
oh
so
man.
we're seeing the beginning of K sounds is funny
K
in the
sounds
deleted
are
scenes.
funny.
Fun.
Remember that. And he's like, Bobby says, okay. And Buddha cracks up and he's like, see, this guy's going to be the next rerun, which he says in an earlier scene. So
Nice. He tells him here at this, conversation, he's like, "Well, my dad doesn't like comedy." And Chris Rock Budasak is like, "Comedy is not about listening to your dad." He says, we get a name drop here. He says, "Do you think Shucky Ducky got to where he was today by listening to his dad?" Shucky Ducky is a real comedian. I don't know if you guys looked into him at all.
Shucky Ducky.
I
Shucky
recognize
Ducky.
this guy.
Just a name drop. He's not in this episode, but he's a DFW native comedian. So he's a Texas native comedian, kind of would have been an older generation to even Chris Rock.
He wore a lot of backwards Kangol hats, Sam Jackson style.
Yes. I believe he's still working.
Sure.
I think he's still working. Yeah.
4,000 followers.
There you go. Way to go, Shucky Ducky.
Get it,
Yeah.
Shuck.
So Shucky Ducky, longtime comedian, he gets a shout out in this episode from Chris Rock and the writers. So then we come to Bobby is gonna approach Hank and kind of tell him that he wants to do comedy, and Hank is cracking nuts in a vice in his garage with safety goggles on.
You know what you do on a Wednesday night?
Repetitive motions.
Autism. Dude, Hank
Yes.
has autism. Oh no.
Yeah.
You've got it. Wow.
Yeah, he's cracking him. Bobby tells him, this is what he wants to do with his life. And Hank is like, "Let me put this in terms that you can understand. I'm not down with that."
It's really good.
Down with that.
No, they cut back to the Hill House. We have the walnut thing, and then we immediately it's
Yes.
a very short scene. We cut back to traffic school. And
Yes.
this is where Buddha just immediately the second Hank like goes in
Hmm.
to on him, he immediately just like pulls out the urethra jokes,
Yes, that's
which
it.
he took note of. Like you could definitely tell that when Bobby brought that up, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring that up next time I see your dad. That's material for me."
Yeah, he's like sperm just be coming out of there like hut 234, hut
Single
234.
file.
Yes. Laughs, absolutely laughs Hank out of the room.
Crushes. Khan loves it.
Yes. Yeah, of course Con loves it. Bobby is gonna talk to Peggy and go and talk to Peggy to try to find out some more about his roots. And he asks her, he's like, Mom, do you have a minute? And she's
I
like,
love
I sure
this.
do. And she just sets a timer for 1 minute
Yeah, she does set the time.
So funny.
because she's still grading
because
so
she's
hard.
so busy grading her what I did over the winter break essays.
Yes. Um, Peggy is like, yes, of course you have roots. Like, have you ever heard of the, butter churn that the churn that churns itself? Um, just he's got the most absolutely boring roots ever.
Yeah,
Um,
she's like, well, your great grandfather and your grandfather and every line had a stable job and had children and
and they bought a house.
they all had a pension and
Yeah.
they were all landowners.
Bobby is bummed because he's got absolutely boring roots from what Bobby sees. Now Bobby that he's looking for his like kind of uh it to do some racial comedy for himself. He finds nothing funny in his background. Um at least to him. And he's expressing this
No,
to
yeah, there's nothing funny there.
Yeah.
he's expressing this woe to Connie and Joseph. He tells him a joke out on the lawn and they're like, it's funny in like an old person way. And Bobby tells Connie, he's like, Connie, you're lucky because you're ethnic. And then he goes, Joseph and I are just
Joseph.
white and boring. They
This is just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
uh
I
that
also
I
love the theory that Dale knows, and
Oh yeah.
that whole like really dark edit was just like, I know Hank. Joseph always called me dad. He'll never call John Redcorn dad, and that blah 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 blah. He's like, I saw what happened to Bill. It's never gonna happen to me, and it's just like really dark.
yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? What's your take on the theory? What do you guys think? Does Dale know? I've always wondered this as well.
I don't think so. Or if Dale does know, if it's a fact that Dale has heard, I think his brain can protect him from
Yeah.
Yeah,
like the ultimate shattering truth.
I think that kind of could explain his character a lot. Like the reason he's so like entrenched in
conspiracies and stuff.
non-realistic, yeah, conspiracies and non-realistic things is because he's just trying like dissociating from
Yeah,
the fact.
I agree.
Yeah.
If he does know, I think his brain has. I think it's made himself believe it's not true. Because like, how does he not like that episode where he shoots John Redcorn with a BB gun? It's like, get in there and cure my wife.
Yeah. That
Trying to take the
yes.
fun out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so far this season or up to this point, they're still really just using that whole infidelity thing as a running gag. It hasn't gotten a ton of teeth to it yet, but it's still very much like
we've had some really good moments
Because Peggy
some, like,
doesn't know.
I
No,
think
Peggy
everyone knows except
No, Peggy.
Dale.
Remember, Peggy doesn't know, or Peggy doesn't know, and then it's someone like lays it out for her, and she's like,
Oh, I don't remember that.
and
oh
she's gonna go run over and tell
Interesting.
Dale, but then Joseph's like,
oh
Dad,
yes.
can I have $5 to go rent a movie or something like that?
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well,
more lore for later on. So I mean, it's
Indeed.
possible that Dale doesn't know because Peggy doesn't know until someone's like,
yeah,
Peggy.
maybe he's just as dumb as Peggy is. Also here, Chris,
Deleted.
as Bobby is talking to Connie and Joseph and telling his jokes and it's not landing with them, he says, "What if I added a K sound?"
Okay.
More
Coming
on that
back
later.
to the K sound. Hank is so upset by how he has been treated by Budasek that he is going to go to the Snaps manager.
He snitches.
he goes to the boss. This is going to be, I think, our last guest voice of the episode. This is John Amos, who is a very
Famous
famous,
Amos?
famous Amos. He's a very famous actor. Um, you'll know him from Coming to America, West Wing, Good Times. He used to be a football player, and most notably, John Amos is Kunta Kinte from Roots,
Oh
from the
shit.
miniseries movie Roots.
Damn, so like very famous Amos.
Very famous Amos.
Nice.
Not the cookie guy. But he's going to play the manager here.
Love
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, the manager is kind of like a little hankish. He like never thought that Buddha was funny. Um, Hank thinks that the videos he's been showing are a little bit too tame, and he brings up a movie he saw in high school called Red Asphalt, and it
Did you
scared
guys
him
look into
straight.
this? Did
I
you guys look
did.
into this series?
Nelson, were
Did
you
you
aware of this?
Did you watch any of it?
No,
I
we
did not watch any of it.
No, I never. We what was this, like an anti-drunk driving thing? They
Yes,
played
that's
that,
what Red Asphalt is.
They played that that Simple Plan music video. How could this happen to me? I was like,
That's all they
really?
did. They just
Yeah.
played a Simple Plan video.
And they talked about how like drugs and alcohol will be bad and whatever, etc.
Yeah.
Wow.
Red Asphalt was an extremely graphic
Yeah.
road highway safety type of video that was kind of first part of the anti-drunk driving high school campaign. They would at our high school every couple of years would put a like wrecked vehicle on like the lawn of our high school.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gnarly. I did watch the full special of Red Asphalt. I believe
Did
it
you
was
really?
like a later version of it, and they show a lot of very graphic images of very dead people in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what Hank thinks should be shown instead of Budasak doing his defensive comedy routine.
Yeah. Felt pretty effective to me, I'll say.
The
Scared
manager
shit out of
the manager immediately is going to call Budasak in, and he's like, let's address this right now. And Budasak is gets offended that his freedom of speech is being stepped on. And he kind of goes into a little tirade here. Nelson, I'm sure you liked this one. He says,
yeah.
Thomas Jefferson's rolling over in his grave right now with the slave lady on top.
Oh
Oh,
man.
man.
Founding
Yes.
fathers are horrible people.
Yes, they absolutely were. I was
I've
just
seen
listening to
Hamilton.
Oh god, don't get me started.
I was just listening to some Thomas Jefferson history, and I was like, wow, this dude was a huge, huge, huge hypocrite. And
But he loved French women too.
he loved all sorts of women.
So yeah, Ben Franklin loved French women too. They apparently side note, funny tidbit about history is when Ben Franklin was over in France trying to negotiate whatever, he would go and obviously visit brothels, and he would call that his French lessons.
Oui, oui.
Oui, indeed. Ooh. Yeah, Budasak is like Thomas Jefferson's rolling over in his grave.
Hold on, Brad, you gotta hit me with the soundboard. Now imagine Ben Franklin saying when he said the brothel. Come on, I know which one. No, you gotta do the Trump one.
There it is.
Wet ass P word.
That's French. That's got to be French.
Oh yeah.
Hank is going to defend the honor of Thomas Jefferson here and say he was a founding father. He built his own home.
That is the metric of what makes a good man.
Yes, he built his own home. Thomas Jefferson wrote a bunch about liberty, but in his personal life, he did not practice it.
Yeah.
Hank defends him. We cut back over to the alley with Dale riding by on the lawnmower, and he is drinking, smoking, and apparently has like the gas can in his mower. I don't know if you guys
It's
saw
just
that.
like, yeah, it's like
It's jammed in the
just keeping it at full at all times.
While he's
Fill as
smoking.
you burn. Yeah. You don't do that?
Yeah.
So we cut to, and we after we see Dale drive by, we zoom in on the basement window, and we see Bobby and Joseph are at the computer down in Dale's basement. with the radioactive barrel right next to it,
Oh
because that's
yeah.
where he keeps all the bug chemicals
Yeah,
under the house.
they're down there contracting cancer. That'll
Yes,
come up in the reboot.
they are contracting cancer of one
Oh
type
God.
here. They're gonna find it on the internet.
Yeah,
So
they all have
Yeah.
radiation
This
poisoning.
is Bobby's falling down the alt-right pipeline.
Yeah.
yes, well, this is the late 90s, and web browsing was not what it was today. And Joseph is kind of conducting the search actually, and he's like, here, we'll just use keywords. And the keywords they put in are white roots funny. And the page that gets displayed to them is doing a little 8-bit Dixieland, a little
Yeah.
whistling Dixie 8-bit. And it's the White Nationalist Brotherhood website is what Bobby and Joseph have found, and that's what we cut commercial on.
Deleted.
So here we get our culmination of the K sound bit. So as they're looking up the keywords, Bobby says instead of white roots and funny, he says whites, roots, and K. And then immediately he's like, whoa, look at all those K words. There's 3 of them in a row.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a long walk to make an anti-Semitic joke.
Okay.
Or like a nod at an anti-Semitic joke.
Okay.
I'm assuming. I can't really think of any other K words.
Interesting. Unless they were just talking about Ku Klux
No, they're talking
Klan
about
would have been on the
Yeah.
front
Oh
page.
yeah, also
He's talking
that,
about the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah.
yeah.
You were thinking about a
Yeah.
K slur, Bradley.
But yeah, there's also a famous. I mean, that probably would have been coming up on a white nationalist
I'm sure
website too.
I'm sure it's on that page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. So that makes sense why if they cut all those scenes that they would just say white roots funny.
Yeah, probably
makes
good that they
sense.
didn't go with that.
So
running
if this
joke.
was present day, what do you think Bobby would have found? We would like stumbled upon like Jordan
Jordan
Peterson,
Peterson,
Wet ass
Andrew Tate.
keyword.
Andrew
Ben
Tate,
Shapiro.
Ben
Yeah.
Shabibo,
Yeah.
Candace Owens. Who's
What's
the
his
lady
name?
Ben
The-
Shabibo? The she looks exactly like Ben Shabibo and she's on the Daily Wire. Steven
Oh,
Crowder, that guy fucking
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. It's like Brett something,
can't-
but she
yeah.
she basically just looks like a female version of Benny Shabibis.
I try not to pay attention to those folks at all.
Yeah.
So
But
Bobby
yeah,
Bobby gets red pilled, and then
yes,
he has a hashtag canceled comedy show.
Bobby and maybe Joseph gets red pilled as well because he's browsing at the same time. Who
He
knows?
is Dale's son.
He thinks he's white. Yeah, we come back from our commercial break, and this is where Bobby is in the alley asking the guys for a ride, which I thought it was funny that there's beer cans just drawn all over their feet,
Yeah.
and that
They're,
they're like,
they're wasted.
sure, we'll drive you. Late 90s, just gonna drive a child to a comedy club drunk.
Yeah, hell yeah, roll tide, brother.
Yeah.
Boomhauer declines going because something about 2 cocktail waitresses ended up being roommates.
It's really good.
Talking about dang old. That's good. That's why Boomhauer can't go. Boomhauer's got he's got another really good line in this one. But yeah, Boomhauer's not going to go. Khan pulls up as Hank is getting out of his truck, and Khan is like, "What the heck, Hank? You got Budasak fired, and now there's like a prop comic, and he's covered in watermelon bits. Obviously, a Gallagher
Gallagher. Or
reference.
Gallagher 2. Y'all know about Gallagher 2?
His brother.
Yeah, he has a
Yeah.
brother who just stole his name and called himself Gallagher 2 and
Yeah.
took his whole bit.
They're also bad for other reasons.
We'll get into that on the after show.
Yes. Another stand-up reference, very stand-up heavy episode, like I said. Yeah, Hank got Buddha fired. Khan's upset about it. Hank asks where the guys are, because it's just Boomhauer standing in the alley, and Boomhauer starts to tell a story about how they needed to get the truck fixed and everything, and Hank immediately is like, "What? They took Bobby to Snaps to see Buddha Sack." Was my favorite like misunderstanding of Boomhauer, because sometimes like they'll be like, "Boomhauer, I can't understand you," if he's like making an echo, but this time it's just like he says one thing and Hank immediately hears like what it was.
Perfect.
It's
was one of
never
my
not
favorites.
funny.
Bobby gets on stage. He gets announced at Snaps. We cut to Bobby gets announced up on stage and immediately kind of jumps into his "It's tough to be white" routine.
Who else here is a member of the Nordic subgroup of the Aryan race?
Yeah, just
And no one raises their hands.
immediately starts to bomb. Just for the nephew's sake. It's tough to be white jokes are not funny.
I literally, Chris, yesterday I was at the climbing gym and I was standing probably 10 feet away from a guy and a woman, and this gentleman, a white guy, was complaining about college admission and how much harder it is,
Oh
and how
no.
there's
all
so
Oh
you,
much
no.
yeah,
how there's so much less opportunity.
all you had to say was climbing gym, and I kind of figured what was
Yeah.
going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. He was in a tank top, he had a chain on, you know the type.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where was this? Where was this? Where's this climbing gym?
I live in Portland, so not a very
Ah,
common thing to
oh
hear, and
Lord.
people are generally very opposite of that here, but
All you
occasionally
had to
you'll
say is climbing gym in Portland. I knew what was
yeah,
happening next. Yeah.
not
But
a lot
yeah,
of opportunity out there.
Bobby immediately goes into this and yeah, he immediately starts bombing. And I feel like this little section here is a lot of like bullshit, what people try to pass off as humor these days, or they'll like try to label their hate speech as like humor, or the popular trope that like right wingers only have one joke about genders
Yeah.
on Father's Day. That's like their whole kind of one thing. So Bobby is kind of unknowingly doing those jokes. He took the format of what Budasak had, and then he plugged bad stereotype and information
Yeah.
into the format. Like
All
uh,
all the canceled comedians now are just copying Bobby Hill.
Yeah.
mhm.
But like unironically, they're just doing
Yeah.
this same shit.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, they're
I
doing some.
love that like Bill and Dale immediately turn on it. Like Dale is like, "Oh shit, Bobby's bombing," and he
Yes,
runs away, and then Bill
yes,
just immediately turns on Bobby and joins the crowd and starts
boo.
booing as well.
yes. Yeah. Bale runs into Hank outside, and Hank's like, "What's going on?" And Dale's like, "Well, he's no rerun." And yeah, runs off like a coward, like he always does. But as Hank runs in here, somebody from the crowd Hank is like, "No, that's my son." And somebody in the crowd is like, "Somebody shut that little Nazi up." So we can only
Good line.
imagine the jokes Bobby's been trying to do off
Yeah.
screen. Um, yeah, and Bill yells out, "Yeah, shut up, Whitey." Very good. Um, yeah, Hank comes up. He's like, "This is my son. He doesn't know what he's saying." And somebody from the crowd is like, "Well, who are you, the Grand Wizard?" Uh, to which Hank still doesn't know, has to explain himself. He's like, "No, I sell propane
So
and propane
propane.
accessories. I'm not a
Excellent.
Grand Wizard." Um, but Buddha Sack is going to come up to the stage and kind of grab the mic and start to try to settle this down. And he immediately tells him, he's like, "Bobby, your new material is not funny." Uh, he's like, "Was it, crowd?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "And do we stand for that in America?" And they're like, "No." And then Buddha Sack is like, "Yes." And Buddha Sack kind of
Uh,
flips it and does his little defending of freedom of speech type of thing, but it does not land with the audience. So Budasak immediately goes back to insulting them. Um,
Which is what you should do.
yes. But yeah, Budasak he does tell Bobby, "Your jokes are seriously unfunny," but he does try to do the, freedom of speech, comics defending comedy
another
type of thing.
as a political scientist, another gross misrepresentation of what the First Amendment and freedom of speech actually is. It's just like, guys, come on. We got to get it right eventually. Can't just say this and say it's freedom of speech. It's not what
Well, they
that's not what it
love to
means.
just pick and choose, you know? We were talking
Exactly.
about the 10 commandments a couple episodes ago. I was quizzing
Yeah.
Chris on those.
Nephews. So we're going with nephews. For
Yep.
those of you that need a civics lesson, First Amendment freedom of speech is the government can't come after you for stuff that you say, barring a few certain things you're not allowed to say. It's not a free pass to say whatever you want in public. It's freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences. A lot of stand-up comedians are finally finding that out. So
Yeah.
talking about you, Matt Rife.
Nice.
Oh, he's actually our next guest, though.
Ooh.
So
Oh no! Hashtag canceled.
we're gonna have to cut. We're gonna have to cut that
You
out.
see what he was on? He's on Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's like,
He was?
so you
Oh,
got
no.
canceled
Oh.
for telling a domestic violence joke and
Men.
cultural Marxism. Ah!
What are we gonna do without men?
What are we gonna do? He's like, for some, like, hold on, I know, I'm gonna just real quick, for someone who talks about like masculinity,
Yeah,
the
he's
dude
such
cries
a
like a bitch, like
he's
constantly.
such a
You
little
ever notice that?
Everything. So
Oh
fragile.
my god, he's like,
It's because he's strung out on benzos, my guy.
Oh
He
my-
can't
I got
regulate his
strung out
emotions.
on
Oh, my
benzodiazepine.
daughter fucked Andrew Tate while I was in the
And
hospital.
I went to a Russian prison and then I retweeted Chinese milking porn and
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
The Hat
Oh,
Man.
we love it.
The Hat Man has been visiting me.
Canadian legend.
right up there with the Trudeaus and Gordon Lightfoot, just a
Yeah.
Canadian legend.
Yeah, him,
Yeah.
Steven Crowder,
Oh god.
just all the greatest.
I saw Buddha's kind of him pulling the free speech here. It was kind of hearkening back to him getting canceled from what he said on Moesha.
Yeah.
I'm
He
guessing
would-
that's where his
if we're talking
his sting
reboot,
comes from.
If we're talking reboot and they bring Chris back, Buddha now has like a Joe Rogan-esque podcast
Well,
Oh,
this
100%.
that is about like the woke meeting the wall and like
Yeah.
this character is going to turn into a reoccurring character, which we'll talk about here
Really?
in just a second.
I love
it's
that.
not always going to be voiced
Oh,
by Chris
yeah.
Rock, but yeah,
Really?
I forgot. Yeah.
after the comedy club
Oh.
lets out, we get this is kind of the last scene of the episode. We get Buddha and Hank and Bobby are talking in the parking lot, and Hank is like, thank you, Mr. Sack, for helping us out there. And they kind of come to an agreement. He says he's sorry for firing him, and he's like, Hank says, almost a little pedantically, like, if you ever want, a career in propane. So Hank kind of offers him this career in propane, and we immediately kind of flash forward to Hank, at the end of the day, telling Roger, who is going to become our recurring character here at Strickland
Yeah.
Propane,
Yep.
that he, did a good job and had a good day. And as we cut to at the end of the workday, it seems that Hank is finally getting jokes and the
Yeah.
Yo Mama jokes as they're walking through the parking lot. So we do a nice little tie up here that Roger is going to become a reoccurring character, which I
I
definitely
thought that was
liked.
very sweet that like
Beautiful.
Hank, because Hank doesn't just like think that anyone can get into propane. There have been
Uh-huh.
several instances where he's like, you think you can sell propane? So obviously Hank sees something in this guy
Yeah.
and maybe he also feels bad for getting his ass fired. But a sweet moment that they're able to trade Yo Mama jokes.
Yeah. But it all comes to a halt there whenever Buddha insults, says that your mama's armpits smell like propane gas, and Hank takes issue. Hank takes issue with that.
Propane doesn't have a natural odor.
Yeah.
The gas come.
It was
It's
added for
to
safety.
by
Thank
man,
Yes.
which is true. That's a true fact.
Credits roll.
He just hyper focuses special interest on propane.
Yes.
Hank loves trains, nephews.
does.
Hank loves trains.
His trains are just propanes.
That's really good.
Credits roll, and then we do have a post-credit scene
Yeah.
with this one. Did you guys watch this all the way through?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a fourth wall break, which is not the first time this has happened in post-credit scene. We get Roger, aka Buddha Sack, and Hank addressing the camera. Hank says, this episode addressed a lot of racial stereotypes, mainly that white people don't have butts, which was kind of the reoccurring joke of the episode. And they kind of flip it on its head a little bit, and they're like, Buddha's like, I'm here to tell you that is not true. Looking at Hank's butt, and then he's like, he's got a damn fine butt, and we kind of
Just
cut
immediately
out.
makes Hank uncomfortable.
Yeah, cut out as Buddha is just complimenting Hank's ass, and Hank is like, "Okay, up next is the X-Files. Cut to the X-Files."
now.
Now, cut to the X-Files. I thought this was kind of funny because it goes against the in-world lore that Hank has a bad butt, and we've seen his butt, and it's bad.
He has no
That's-
butt.
There's a whole
He has
episode
to get the
about his butt.
implants. Yeah.
Yeah. But here
Can't
in
wait
the
for that
off
one.
here in the off screen, Buddha Sack is saying he has a nice butt. Now I'm sure he's just doing that for comedic effect, but I liked
In
this
the
post
reboot-
credit scene.
Yeah.
In the reboot, Hank gets a BBL.
Oh my god, for medical reasons.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. I would love that.
Bill gets on Ozempic, and
Oh no.
Hank gets a BBL.
And maybe Peggy brings back the Peggy's Feet thing on OnlyFans.
Ooh.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Or
So there was,
Luann
like,
has an OnlyFans.
Yeah,
no.
I could see
But
that.
it's but it's
Luann
for the
getting
manger
tricked.
babies.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
manger
Luann getting
babies.
tricked. Like Luann dates some scumbag dude who gets her to do OnlyFans, like tricks her to do it.
Oh no.
And that's if
Yeah.
they replace the voice actor.
They have
Which-
to. Like they have
yeah.
to. Like I understand like not doing Lucky because he wasn't really a main character, but you gotta
Yeah.
have someone
Yeah.
to do Luann, and you
Mhm.
have
And
to have someone
Dale,
to do
yeah.
Dale. That
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they can find new Rick and Morty's, they can find a new Dale and Luann. Yeah.
Good point. Well, that
Well,
does it for
That does it.
the episode. Should we just step right into the alley there,
Step
Crispy?
right out back. Yeah, man.
All right.
I'm gonna buy you a drink.
So this is the segment of the show where we rank and grade the episode because art does deserve to be graded and ranked. So we give the episode a score out of a 6-pack of Alamo beers. How are y'all
Mhm.
feeling on this one? How many beers do you think you're pounding down for this episode?
I think for me, I'm gonna say 5 on this one, and I think a good portion of this rating for me is a time capsule. This is one of those like they were relevant back then and relevant still now, and this is how it looked in the 90s, and we know how it looks today. So I think I'm going 5 out of 6 because I really enjoyed Chris Rock, and I think
Yeah.
this is a good look at where we're at now type of episode.
I'm into that. How you feeling about it, Nelson?
I'm debating between 4.5 and 5, only because, like, to me, to get a 6 out of 6, it has to be one of, like, in my opinion, the legendary episodes. And like when I
Yeah,
say legendary
sure.
episodes, I'm talking about the infamous Halloween Pig episode that's like banned.
Pygmalion,
then-
yeah.
Yeah. Whatchamacallit?
Manger Babies. We
Manger
just did
Babies,
recently. That got a 6 from both of us, I believe.
the Louisiana episode, Bill's
Mhm.
Family. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
There's so many.
This one's
this-
not a sixer for sure.
Yeah, it's
Definitely
not
not
a
a
sixer.
sixer.
Yeah. So I would say Chris Rock definitely saves it, and the bit like with Bobby and the white nationalism could be like if they did it like it was a reboot, like you could see Bobby like going down like an alt-right pipeline, like trying
Yeah.
to be one of those comedians.
Yeah.
So
they
I-
could
I
do
would-
this exact episode in modern times.
Exactly.
Almost
Yeah.
verbatim.
Yeah.
And like there's like to me there's other, there's like John Redcorn episodes that are 6s. Like there's just some really good ones out there. So I would say probably 4.5 or 5.
Yeah.
Be-
We
probably
leave, we leave
4.5.
half. We leave
4.5.
half beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, do 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 out of 6.
I'm into that. I think I'm right around where you guys are at, but I think I'm going to go with a 4 on this one. And my main
Okay.
reasoning for that is it was kind of hard to tell.
'Cause
like
Brad liked the white nationalist jokes.
Yeah,
Said that
I-
he wished
yeah.
there was
He
more
did.
white
I wish there was
Being in
more of
Portland, he
that.
wished there
Yeah.
were more white nationalists.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The
Got 'em.
the white utopia of Oregon,
Yeah.
I think that just like the pacing of this episode, like it was hard to tell if it was a Hank episode or if it was a Bobby episode. Like both of the storylines just kind of seemed mushed together. And I
Uh-huh.
don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just like you said, I think they could have done a lot more with Bobby and his whole side of the story, and then the Hank side of the story, and then there was like a little bit with Khan in there. So it was all kind of like muddied for me.
Yeah.
but still a good one. So I'm gonna go with a solid 4.
Yeah, nice. Like I said, I think really one whole beer of my rating is strictly dedicated to how well it transports
Yeah.
to this day and age. Like I
Yeah.
think the episode itself was a 4, but I think it's got a special aura around it that brings it up to a
Yeah.
5 for me.
I'm with you
Definitely,
on that.
definitely.
I'll go up to a 4.5.
Oh, there we go.
There
I
we
did
go.
it.
There we go.
All right.
You can drink Nelson's other half.
Yeah,
There you
we'll
go.
just share.
Yeah.
Hope you like sharing. Should we crown our kings, Chris?
We should.
All right.
God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, Bobby, God dang it, Bobby, 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 dang it, Bobby, 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 dang it, Bobby.
So this, as we mentioned earlier, Nelson, is the segment of the show where we crown our MVP of the episode, our King of the Hill.
Ooh.
We never decide beforehand. I always like to decide in the moment. Is there any specific character that stood out in your mind as your king?
Guess first if you're ready.
Yeah.
Bobby.
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 Yes, Bobby. I'm also
Because
Bobby.
you also loved the white nationalist.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
hell yeah, brother. Oh man.
Chris,
But,
you
like,
said Bobby as well?
I'm Bobby
yeah.
too.
The double Bob?
Double Bob.
Yeah.
Love it.
What was your favorite Bobby bit this episode? Just his innocence. That was it
This
for
is
me.
in it. Him
Yeah.
like getting up there and doing those jokes. Like it's just this is classic. Like because I love how in this episode it just shows how like just innocent he is because he does that and doesn't realize it's bad. And then later on the Thanksgiving episode, he's like, I refuse to eat the white man's white meat. And
Yes.
it's just Bobby's just all over the place politically. Like you could just put him in all the 4-panel political compass meme. Like he could just be
Yes.
everything. Which actually nephews would be a really good meme if anyone wants to do that.
Mhm.
Bobby.
Yeah, I loved how innocent he was. I loved how hyped up he was about meeting Buddha Sack and like writing jokes and performing it out in the alley and stuff. Like this is
Yeah.
leading up to this, we've heard him talk about wanting to be a stand-up comedian, and that's been his dream. And this episode, we get to see him like live it out. And so I really liked that. I thought it was sweet. I like how Buddha, like actually tried to help him and give him good advice. Yeah, I definitely thought this was a Bobby episode. What about you, Brad? Are you a team Bobby this one, or you got somebody else?
Guys, I think this is going to be a first, almost 30 episodes into our show. The first time that we have a triple
Yay.
Hill King.
Oh, triple crown.
I'm going Bobby as well. And for
Nice.
all the reasons you guys said, the innocence is the main thing for me. Like I
Beautiful.
related to it a lot because he just really likes this comedy. He finds it funny. He knows that it's funny. He doesn't have a lot of worldview in general, and he's just emulating what he thinks is funny. And then it takes a really comedic turn of him becoming a white nationalist. And that's
And hopefully he learns his lesson. It seemed like Buddha was really trying to teach him and show him without, obviously he was pissed. He did some bad racy jokes, but it does seem like he had his back. I like this episode a lot.
Yeah.
He'll find his place in comedy because he does this and he does the whole clown thing. Like he'll find it eventually.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Which is also just him. We had an episode earlier in the season where
This I like.
Hank's mom brings her boyfriend for Christmas. It was a couple episodes before this. And
Carl
this
Reiner.
is Bobby's first time meeting a Jewish man, and he's like, this is
Oh my
the funny way
God.
that people in Arizona talk. He's just emulating what he thinks is
Oh
fun.
my
This I
God, his
like.
speech pattern is perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We fucking did it for the
Yep.
episode, guys.
Hell yeah.
Yes, Nelson. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you
No
for
problem.
watching an episode and taking notes
Yeah,
and wanting
doing
to come
homework.
discuss it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we would love to have you back on sometime if you'd be interested.
Hell yeah, we
an
gotta
eye
do
out for
the
some-
what is it? Was a streetcar name Bill? Whatever the hell that one.
Dotrieve.
Yeah. That's the best episode.
Do you know what season that is, Chris?
I don't.
I want to
and
say it's a little later. Oh yeah, I want to say it's
I
like
think
in
it's
like
4.
4 or 5 area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll definitely have you on for the New Orleans
35,
episode.
35
Couple
years.
years from now.
Hell yeah. Do you want to plug your handle one more time for us,
Yeah,
Nelson?
so check us out. It's me, Mark, and Kai at What's Left of the South at whatever. Yeah, WLOT. It's in the show
Down
notes.
there, yeah. We got
Yeah,
you.
WLOTSPOD. Yes.
Yeah. So check us out. We took kind of a break because I got this I had the like full-time job, and then Kai actually lives in England,
Mm-hmm.
and
Jolly
Mark
good.
and Mark yeah, she married a Brit and hightailed it out of here. I don't blame her.
Yeah,
But
she got that passport and said, "Yay."
I'm done. And then Mark's got a full-time job too. So like we did take a break in May, and then we just recorded an episode back. Yeah, we recorded it. It's up, put it up yesterday. But we have free episodes, and then we have our Patreon series, our After Dark series
Mhm.
for $3. $3 a month. You get $1, 3, and 5. Yeah, so
Nice.
something like that. You pay some money and you hear our After Dark episodes that get raunchy and crazy, and we cut loose and we make fun of Mark, and we talk about that's where we talk mostly about politics and current events.
It's
And
behind
we
the
have our
paywall.
behind the paywall.
Good stuff.
And and then we have our free episodes, which we do like mostly history, but also sometimes we have like a no guess, no problem. We just like cut up and talk shit. Like the last episode, we ranked casual dining restaurants, and I had a fight. We had a fight with Mark over which one was better.
Oh, what was the beef?
What came
was
out
the
on
final
top?
beef? Let's settle it.
Mark is Gen Z, and Kai and I are millennials. So
Yep.
Mark came on top was so it was a tier system. It was
Yep.
what was up there? Chewy's Mexican
Chewy's is great.
restaurant.
Okay.
Love Chewy's.
Chili's. That's our thing. Like when we hang out as a podcast, we go to Chili's because
Go to
like
Chili's.
we always go to Chili's.
Yep.
I can't remember what else was on there. Kai has it saved. I'll post it later. But I remember specifically Chili's. Mark and I had a fight over Texas Roadhouse because Mark hates Texas Roadhouse and I love
Ooh.
Texas Roadhouse.
I
I ate at Texas Roadhouse a lot when I first moved to Oklahoma. That was like almost a weekly staple in our household.
It's
So I'm with
beautiful.
you on that.
Yeah, between the two, between Chewy's and Texas Roadhouse, though, Brad, who do you think you're taking?
I'd probably go
We'll go out on
Chewy's.
this. You going Chewy's?
Especially nowadays because I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
The
Chewy's
thing
is
is,
more
like,
diverse, but the rolls.
I don't have the rolls, the cinnamon butter. But Kai made the point that you can get the cinnamon butter anywhere.
Yeah.
You can go buy
Not
it.
anywhere. You can't get buy it. Yeah.
You can buy it.
Yeah.
But
who wants to
I've
do
only
that?
had Chewy's once. I've only had Chewy's once, and it was amazing. I got the Juan Solo shirt, so it was great.
Hell yeah.
I can see a Chili's sign from my backyard.
Oklahoma.
That's God's. It's God's country, folks. Yeah. Well, sick. Thanks so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. This was a fun one.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send us memes, nephews. Make sure to check out We Lots Pod's Instagram for memes. They're always sharing good memes as well as putting out good podcasts.
That'll be linked as well. The Patreon will be linked as well.
I'll send you the link tree, and it's got everything.
Oh,
we go.
They got a tree.
Boom.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. One that we paid
Right.
for too. Can you hit me? Can you hit me with that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump back to back one more time?
Do not come.
Yes, I have come. Oh my God, it's so juicy.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, we'll see you. We'll see you next time for
Thanks for
episode
watching.
episode 17 next week. Hank's Dirty Laundry. This is the porno one.
Ooh, porno episode.
Cuffs
Yeah.
and collars.
Yes.
Oh man.
Doing, step bro.
Come on back, nephews.
Tune in, fellas. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Pussy.
40 ounces of pussy.
Straight to the dome.
Roll Tide.
Hill Kings Podcast.
Do not come.